Well, good morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Taylor Stephenson here with meteorologist Hunter Force this morning, and we are tracking the winter weather here across the area. Good morning, Hunter. How are you?
Good, Taylor. It's great to be here, and it's great to be streaming to give you guys all the information at home. So, you know what? We're ready for it, Taylor, right? We've been waiting for this weekend over the last couple of days, and the storm finally here.
I know, and I'm ready to see how this storm performs.
Yeah.
Lots of uncertainty, and if you haven't seen my thorough analysis on Facebook, I encourage you to go see that because, of course, you've had a lot of questions about snowfall totals. Will it really give us, the bigger snow totals around the south side? That's really the hard part, Hunter. So what are you seeing right now on our current radar?
Yeah, it's that sneaky dry air that may limit some of those snow totals, which is what you were saying in your Facebook post earlier, which was great, by the way. But we see the coastal low just off the coast of North Carolina right now, starting to strengthen a bit, seeing some snow into the Outer Banks. We have another area of low pressure just off to the west and seeing some snow in South Carolina and North Carolina as well, but seeing a dry pocket here right around Raleigh. We have a high pressure off to our north, low pressure off to our south, and you're going to get a strong pressure gradient in between these two. So you're going to be getting some strong winds, especially as we head into this evening and early Sunday morning. Here's a closer look at the radar right now. Again, we were seeing some snow right around the Outer Banks. We were seeing a few flakes flying around Elizabeth City earlier this morning. Same around into eastern North Carolina. Even Tim Pandagis, our chief meteorologist here, was saying there was a report of some snowflakes in southern Suffolk earlier this morning, but right now not a whole lot going on. I could zoom in here to areas right around Ahoskie. We were seeing some snowflakes falling on down. It's a little bit lighter out there right now, but earlier this morning we were probably seeing a few good flakes flowing around, but right around Reynoldston, Parker's Fork, Belvedere, Hertford, things are dry right now. Over towards Poplar Branch, Water Lily, Southern Shores. These darker blues here, darker purples, are indicating that there could be some snow flying around the region. But again, the air is so dry, those dew points are so low that some of it may be evaporating before it reaches the ground. So you got to have that air column to saturate as we go throughout the next couple of hours for the snow to really start falling on down. But here's a look, at Kill Devil Hills, Rodanthe, Avon. Probably going to be seeing some flakes out there. I know we have Layla Cox out there who is in the Outer Banks. We'll be talking to her shortly about the conditions over there. But Alligator, Gum Neck, Lake Landing, probably seeing a good amount of snow coming down already. We do have winter storm warnings up for the south side into eastern North Carolina, the southern areas of the eastern shore, and southern portions of the peninsula. So Hampton and Newport News. Now, here is a change. We did have winter storm warnings up for central and northern eastern shore and also the northern part of the peninsula, the middle peninsula, but now those were downgraded to winter weather advisories, meaning conditions aren't going to be as bad up there. You're not going to be seeing as much snow in those northern areas because of some of that dry air filtering in, lowering some of those snow totals, which is what we've been talking about yesterday and into the day today, what Taylor has been talking about this morning. But we still have winter storm warnings up again for the south side, the southern portions of the eastern shore, the peninsula, or southern areas of the peninsula, so Newport News and Hampton, and around eastern North Carolina as well. Here's a look at temperatures. I mean, it is certainly cold enough to snow. We are in the upper teens to low 20s. It's 19 in Wachapreague, 17 in Melfa, 19 in North Mollis sitting at 19, 21 degrees over in Hayes. It's 23 in Seaford, 23 in Buckrow Beach. Rushmere sitting at 22 degrees, 23 over in Smithfield, and 21 over in Newport News. We're sitting at 22 in Crestwood, 23 in Oceana, 23 in Longview. The airport sitting at 23 degrees, and same around Chesapeake Regional Airport. Down into eastern North Carolina, again, temperatures are into the mid to lower 20s, even lower 30s around the east, around Kitty Hawk sitting at 33 degrees, Corolla at 30 degrees, Edenton at 27, Sunbury sitting at 24 degrees. But here's the issue. Look at these dew points, right, Taylor?
Right.
I mean, they are so low. Manteo, though, at 25 degrees for a dew point. That's not bad. So I'm sure they're seeing some of that snow falling down, reaching the ground. But you look at Franklin, you look at Norfolk, Melfa, Wallops Island, single-digit dew points. They are so low. The air is so dry, Taylor, that there's probably snowflakes well above in some of these spots, especially down in
Manio, like you were saying, Manio, it's been snowing all day long. So even if there was dry air that was already down there, because they've been seeing consistent snowfall, that's why we're starting to see some of that snow there. So good point.
Right. I mean, it's going to take a while for this air to really get saturated.
Right.
You know, a couple of hours. You could get some snowflakes reaching the ground, you know, in dry air, but it's a little bit harder for all of those to reach the ground there. But again, over the next couple of hours, we should start to see the air saturating a bit, especially around the south side in eastern North Carolina, but it's off towards the north. Like we've been saying, that's where it's going to be a bit harder. That's where that dry air is really going to filter in for a lot of us, which is why it's going to be limiting some of those snow totals. But around Portsmouth, dew points sitting at 10 degrees, 5 in Wakefield, 5 in West Point, 15 in Elizabeth City, 26 in Kill Devil Hills, 13 over in Edenton. But another thing we have to watch out for, and what we've been talking about as well, with that low pressure system, that strong coastal low sitting off the coast, but also high pressure off towards the north, you get that really strong pressure gradient. So you get really strong winds.
Yeah, and I want to give the camera back to Hunter so you can see that full screen with those graphics.
Yes, so we do have high wind warnings up for the eastern shore, the coast of Virginia Beach, Norfolk, down into eastern North Carolina, into the Outer Banks. Portions up around Matthews, Hampton included in that high wind warning, but even inland areas have wind advisories as well. So we could be seeing gusts 50, 55 plus closer to the coast. Inland areas 40 to 50 miles an hour for you guys. Here's a look at wind gusts out there right now, and I got to tell you, it's pretty cold outside with the wind. I mean, it's 20 degrees, so even without wind, it's cold, but when you add 20, 30 mile per hour wind gusts on that, my hands were frigid in just a couple of minutes. But right now we're seeing wind gusts up to about 28 in Virginia Beach, 29 in Elizabeth City, 30 in Manio, 24 in Edenton, 23 mile per hour gusts in Newport News, and 25 in Hampton. And we'll see those going up as we head into this evening and especially early Sunday morning. So here's a look at the feels like temperatures. That's why my hands felt frigid this morning, because it feels like 8 right now in Norfolk. It feels like 11 in Chesapeake, 20 in Manio, 21 in Gloucester, 6 in Melfa, 10 in Ahoskie, 7 over in Franklin. Virginia Beach, okay, that's the warm spot. Feels like 23 degrees over there this morning. 22 in Kill Devil Hills. Portsmouth feels like 9. 7 in Matthews, feels like 10 in Gatesville, 11 over in Suffolk. Now, as we head into tonight and tomorrow morning, we do have an extreme cold warning. This is for the entire Hampton Roads area. Wind chills from 0 to 5 below 0. A lot of us are going to be waking up with wind chills with a negative sign in front of them. 1 below, most likely, around Norfolk, even colder up into the eastern shore. So as we head into tomorrow morning, you may want to get outside, see some of the snow, maybe do a little bit of shoveling, but you're going to want to bundle up from head to toe because it is going to be absolutely frigid. Another thing we have to watch out for is the tidal flooding. We do have coastal flood watches or coastal flood advisories up, but we also have coastal flood warnings, which includes southern portions of the eastern shore, Norfolk, Virginia Beach, and also down into the Outer Banks. So again, coastal flooding is certainly a concern as we head into early tomorrow morning. Now here's again a look at all the impacts we're expecting as we go throughout tonight and into tomorrow morning, throughout the afternoon. Mostly going to be a snow event, which is great. We don't have to worry about ice. We don't have to worry about sleet. And not only is it going to be a snow event, but it's also going to be nice, light, fluffy snow. So shoveling, not going to be a huge issue. But one end of your yard may end up with, a pile of some snow, but the other end may not end up with a lot because the winds are going to be blowing the snow all around, and it's going to be easy for that fluffy snow to kind of get mixed around and moved around. But we're also going to be seeing those gusty winds, 50 plus miles an hour, especially closer to the coast where you have those high wind warnings. And again, tidal flooding, which could be moderate to even major. as well. Here's a look at our sky view out there right now, our Thompson Creek Window Company sky view. It's cloudy, it's cold. We're seeing some chop out there on the waterways and not seeing a soul out there this morning. And I don't blame them because it is cold, Taylor, right? I mean, It's going to continue to stay cold, not only heading into today, but tomorrow, and even into the first half of February. It's looking like temperatures are going to stay well below average. So we're not expecting a big warm up on the way, unfortunately.
Not at all. And even between today and tomorrow and early Monday morning, we'll be below freezing. So we could be below freezing, so below 32 degrees for 48 hours at least. So anything that falls likely to stick. And even this morning before you came in, Hunter, we had Layla here on our 8 a.m. stream, and she was talking about how she could see the snow sticking to the ground already. But I want to get through some of the forecast models before we go and see what's going on with Layla. Right now, forecast models have given us the newest runs. The newest runs push back the timing on the snow arrival in Hampton Roads. Here's one model, the graph model, the one I just showed you. That is the GFS model. We'll come back to that one in just a moment. So here's a look at what I'm seeing across the area for now. I will say still kind of underperforming with the graph model. There is more snow in North Carolina now than the graph model is showing here. Hunter just showed you the radar. It's not really initializing well, but it's doing better than earlier. And as you said, very breezy, very cold. Overcast skies anytime it's not snowing between Hampton Roads and northeastern North Carolina. Now, I will say the graph model is taking into account a bigger dry slot, and you'll see it here. We'll see the potential for snow still spreading north through North Carolina through 4 to 4:30, and then finally making it to most of the south side by 6 to 7 p.m. tonight. Very pushback timeline. This same exact model showed snow falling in Hampton Roads within the next hour of now, so 12 to 1 p.m. So a really pushback timeline. Unfortunately, it's hard for us to have confidence in this timeline because it is such a drastic change between noon and 7 p.m. now. So what I will say, we're going to take the nice, easy middle road and say about 3 to 4 p.m. because that's what I'm seeing with other models as well for the south side. But notice how the graph model, and I'm going to pause it right about here. Notice how the graph model keeps the snow south of the peninsula. And with this newest model run, it actually keeps snow away from the peninsulas and only confines it to the south side and northeastern North Carolina. Another big change from this model is that it doesn't bring as much snow to the south side as it did earlier in terms of the longevity of this snowfall event. Mainly North Carolina, and then pulling away early tomorrow morning. That timeline still holds. But it's interesting that the graph model is deciding we may not see snow as early, and the snow is going to leave much earlier as well. I want to cross compare that to our American model. And with the American model, you can see that the snow starts to fill into the south side around 2 to 3 p.m. So hours earlier than the graph. Again, it's so frustrating to be in the middle of an event and none of the models agree on timing or snowfall totals. But here's around 3 p.m. with the American model, taking it through 5 p.m. And I'll give you the little cursor again so you can see this snow line is much further north than the graph model. The graph model is down here near Newport News and Hampton, just over the bridge tunnels. This one takes it up into the middle eastern shore through the middle peninsula and then continues to snow throughout the night, finally pushing away by early tomorrow morning. But I'm going to even roll that back really quick. Look how far north that snow line went with the American model. Much further north through Richmond, all the way up into the Delmarva Peninsula, and then pulling away early tomorrow morning. With all this discrepancy, that is why we have so much discrepancy in snowfall outputs. So the NAM model backing off once again. It literally had a foot of snow in North Carolina, and it had here around 3 to 6 inches of snowfall. Now, once again, it went back the other direction, and now is only calling for 1 inch to 3 inches on the south side, maybe 3 to 5 around the Outer Banks. GFS holding strong in 1 to 3 inches on the south side, 3 to 8 in North Carolina. The European model also holding strong with 3 to 5 to 6 inches on the south side and anywhere up to about 7 to 8 inches on the North Carolina side of things. Still a lot of uncertainty. Let's look at the high resolution rapid refresh model, and it's still showing what I showed just about 3 hours ago of 1 to 3 inches on the south side and about 2 to 6 down in northeastern North Carolina. I still think those numbers are fairly off. And even Hunter and I talked about how the graph model wasn't even aligning snowfall total wise with what it was showing with the model output in terms of timing of snowfall. So I don't think these models know at all what's going to happen, and they're either over accounting or under accounting for the dry air we have in place. What we do know, though, is that we do have snow ongoing again in the northeastern North Carolina area. So again, this snowfall outlook map can be adjusted throughout the day, and not only will we have the fabulous Hunter Force here throughout the day, but we will have meteorologist Evan Stewart and Chief Meteorologist Tim Pandages later on today. But again, we have the greatest risk for that dry air to infiltrate the area throughout the peninsulas and the south side. This could be a possibility where we only get 1 inch or 2 of snowfall if that dry air is too much to handle. Or if, as the graph model is suggesting, that snow shield doesn't make it that far north and it only stays on the south side and doesn't make it to the peninsula. But then again, the American model suggests that the snow shield goes all the way up here to the Tappahannock through the Delmarva Peninsula area and then takes longer to exit. So there's so much uncertainty, unfortunately. That's why it's so important to stay with us here on 13 News Now, especially on 13 News Now Plus, as we have more time to get into these deep dives about what we're seeing and the expectations. It may be one of those events, as Hunter and I were talking about earlier, that you just might have to wait and see, unfortunately. But you don't have to wait and see the snowfall at the moment. Reporter Layla Cox is out in the Outer Banks, and Layla, it looks like you were getting pelted by snowflakes and the wind. Where are the conditions right now, and where are you?
Hey, good morning, Taylor and Hunter. Yeah, we're out here back in the Kill Devil Hills area, again, off the coast of the Outer Banks. And gradually, since the last time we've spoken about an hour or two ago, the wind is really picking up. These are the strong wind gusts that we've been warning you about basically all week, and that's really going to progress into Saturday and definitely into tomorrow, Sunday. I'm just going to kind of pan over here to show you guys how windy it really is, if this even does it any justice. And also what I want to describe to you guys is the fact that although it might not look like it's snowing right now, with those high wind gusts coming off the coast, that's what our meteorologists have really been saying, like Taylor and Evan, Chief Meteorologist Tim Pandages, Hunter, have been saying that, you know, with these severe wind gusts picking up as this winter system develops, you're still going to have those blizzard-like conditions. So when we were over at our car, it didn't really seem to be snowing, but as we got closer over to the coast, we can feel the snow. I feel it really pelting onto my face as you described, Taylor. That indeed is the reality. Now, I do want to say that Governor Josh Stein, we know that he has declared a state of emergency for the weekend, and earlier today, he reiterated to North Carolinians that today is going to bring snowfall across the state. We know the state of emergency was issued on Thursday, but he gave an update today and says as of 10 a.m. about, let me confirm, about as of 10 a.m. Saturday, more than 5,500 tons of salt have been placed on the roads by NCDOT. And as we've been coming up and down the coast of the Outer Banks, we've been seeing these sand dunes in preparation to kind of mitigate that coastal and tidal flooding that we can see as this storm really progresses. But as you can see, it's really, really windy. Thankfully, we have these goggles here to protect my eyes, but definitely the strongest wind gusts that I've probably felt since I've been out here, guys.
some of those. I mean, I wish I had some of those wind gusts, the goggles. But when I went out to the Outer Banks one time, the winds I know for a fact can get really wild down there. Layla, I want to ask, have you seen any accumulating snow since last time we talked? We saw the snow flurries kind of sticking to the sand. Any more since the last time?
No, not really accumulation on the roadways. A little bit of accumulation onto the sand, as I showed you a little bit a while ago, because the ground is freezing temperatures, like you guys have been saying. But as far as the roadways, they're still clear. The parking lot that we're parked in right now, no accumulation of the snow. But I can tell you, you cannot go outside without hearing how strong these wind gusts are. I mean, the sound of the wind is kind of alarming in its own. So in combination with the snow and just the bitterly cold temperatures, it's definitely safe to stay home.
Good words, and I'm gonna let you go and get out of this really windy, very cold kind of area there in Kill Devil Hills. Thank you so much, Layla, for joining us again, and we'll see you later on. Now, in terms of what Layla said, we are expecting those really rough waves. Earlier, I explained from the National Weather Service that they were expecting waves around the Atlantic Ocean anywhere from seas 6 to about 8 feet. Later on, we could see a 12-foot wave, not out of the question. Very windy conditions, especially around the Outer Banks, where Hunter mentioned earlier a high wind warning is in place for wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour. But remember, wind direction is also important. Those north to northeast winds will push tides higher tomorrow. So for Sewell's Point, we could see moderate flood stage tomorrow morning. This is right around 8:35 on your Sunday, and that is for Sewell's Point. We can see major flood stage not only for the Lynnhaven Inlet, but also for Duck Pier. At the Lynnhaven Inlet, this timeline is right around 8:23 tomorrow morning. Yorktown, you're underneath a coastal flood advisory. The other areas like Sewell's Point, Lynnhaven Inlet, and Duck Pier are underneath coastal flood warnings. So for Yorktown, we can see Nusage flood stage, so much lower than the other three, and that's around 8:34 tomorrow. Then you get into Duck Pier, and this could be some of the highest around the area. Expected major flood stage at 7 feet, and that's going to be around 6:49 a.m. on your Sunday. So it could be a very messy situation for those very low-lying areas. We could have the potential of some overwash. So be very, very careful, especially around NC-12. Just be careful, because as this low pressure system, Hunter, starts to strengthen off of the coast of North Carolina, those winds will just get even more intense. Later on tonight, I am projecting wind gusts up to about 50 to 60 miles per hour.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's why they have those high wind warnings in place, especially closer to the coast, down into the Outer Banks. It is just going to be extremely windy, and this low pressure system is just gaining strength hour by hour. And as we take a look at our satellite and radar right now, we also have high pressure off to the north. And when you have high and low pressure close to each other, you get a stronger pressure gradient, which could also help to increase the wind speeds as well. Now, what I also want to take a look at here is, as we zoom in, we are seeing again some dry pockets on our satellite and radar. And those dry pockets is what can help limit some of those snow totals. You're not seeing, a lot of the snow kind of filtering in and all gathering together. You're getting areas here of dry air, and that's kind of helping to limit some of the snow falling on down. It's not limiting it in the Outer Banks, because Layla Cox was just out there, and we were seeing a good amount of snow coming down. It was those light, tiny little fluffy flakes, but they were coming down, and not seeing any rain there at all for the Outer Banks. We were a little bit earlier just on the outskirts, but right now looking like it's all snow. Not seeing a whole lot getting into the south side or the peninsulas right now, but still around eastern North Carolina, we were seeing some flakes flying around earlier this morning. And as we zoom in, we are seeing some coming down around Roanoke Rapids, Emporia, Murfreesboro, kind of on the cusp. Husky could see a few flakes flying down this morning, but Franklin, Suffolk, Morgan's Corner, Mittensville, Reynoldson, all dry but cloudy out there right now. As we head closer to the coast, could be seeing some flakes. Poplar Branch, Water Lily, Knott's Island, Southern Shores, Gregory, Elizabeth City, not a whole lot going on for you right now. Same with Moyock and Lynch's Corner. But as we go throughout the next couple of hours, we will start to see more snow filtering in, especially into eastern North Carolina and eventually into the south side as well. Here's a closer look down around Alligator, Gum Neck, and Lake Landing. These darker blues, you see these darker bands here. That's some heavier snow coming on down. Avon, Kill Devil Hills, Rodanthe, probably seeing a good amount of snow coming down around Gum Neck and Lake Landing, and same around Ocracoke as well. So you get these bandings here of heavier snow, and if that keeps up, that's why we were seeing those higher snow totals down into eastern North Carolina and the Outer Banks, because they were going to see heavier snow for a longer period of time compared to areas further to the north. Now, we do have winter storm warnings up for eastern North Carolina down through the Outer Banks, for the south side, the southern portions of the peninsula, and southern eastern shore. Now, the thing that has changed from the last 24 hours or so is that there are now winter storm advisories up for central and northern eastern shore, the middle peninsula, and northern neck. It has been downgraded. Those areas have been downgraded from winter storm warnings to winter weather advisory. So they could still see some snow, but not expecting as much as previously thought because of that dry air that's going to infiltrate the area and help lower those snow totals. But temperatures outside right now are frigid, I do have to say, and it is very windy, especially down in the Outer Banks. Shout out to Layla, who was showing us that earlier. It's 19 in Wachapreak, 20 in Saluda, Jamaica sitting at 19 degrees. These are actual air temperatures. Hudgens sitting at 21 degrees, same around Cape Charles, 21 in Hayes. Tano sitting at 18 degrees this morning. We're in the low 20s across the peninsula, 21 in Newport News, Buckrow Beach at 22. It's 20 degrees in Yorktown, Lightfoot sitting at 18, Rushmere at 21. Same over at Smithfield, Comet sitting at 20 degrees this morning, Eastover at 20, Surrey around 20. 20 seems to be the sweet spot. A lot of us sitting around 20 degrees, but all of us in the low 20s. As we take a look at the south side, the warmest spot here, let's find it. Looks like Pungo. 26 degrees. That's where you guys are right now. That's the warm spot. Creed sitting at 25. Greenbrier at 24 degrees this morning. Ocean View at 23. Wilroy at 23 degrees as well. Chesapeake Regional Airport sitting at 22 this morning. 22 in Windsor. Loomis sitting at 23 degrees. Carrollton sitting at 22, same in Longview. Down into eastern North Carolina, temperatures actually hovering in the low 30s around the Outer Banks. Kill Devil Hills sitting at 32 degrees, same in Kitty Hawk, Coralla at 30 degrees this morning. So that's actually the warm spot, hovering right around freezing. Hertford sitting at 25, 25 in Sunbury. It's 25 in Morgan's Corner, same in Greens Cross. Crestwell at 26 degrees, 28 in Alligator, and Buckland sitting at 23 degrees. But again, like we've been talking about, Taylor, dew points, dry air.
Right.
That is what is limiting, or what could limit those snow totals as we head into this evening and early Sunday morning, as we start to see that system moving out of the region. Now, compared to what we were looking at earlier, it looks like the dew points maybe have gone down even more a little bit. I think Norfolk was still sitting at 4 degrees, but Chesapeake right now, 0. 6 in Newport News, 9 in Ahoskie, 2 in Richmond. So it is very dry across the board. Dew point sitting at 7 degrees in Virginia Beach, 8 in Portsmouth, 6 in Hampton. They are a bit higher down into eastern North Carolina. 26 degrees for dew point around Kill Devil Hills, 5 in West Point, 9 in Matthews. So when you have very dry air, you have a dry atmosphere. So it could be, snowing aloft, up into the clouds. Some of the snow is falling on down, but it gets into dry air and it evaporates. It's gone before it reaches the ground. Some flakes could reach the ground, but not a lot. And especially when it's this dry, all of it really starts to evaporate and none of it is reaching the ground. You have to get the column of air saturated. So they're comfortable falling on down and they're like, yeah, I'll make it to the ground. Why not? But if it's too dry, Taylor, they're not. They're like, I'm good. It's too dry. It's not comfortable for me. So I'm just going to poof away.
And I think that's what the models are taking into account is that dry air that we do have. And even the newest run of this graph model is showing that right now. So let's go ahead and show the future cast of this system of our graph model here from the weather pod. And you can see that this is taking into account that dry slot that Hunter was just talking about in the area. As I go back just a little bit for you, right about here. And you can see, I'll point my cursor, this dry slot. Does this dry slot hold? That is the question. And it's hard to have this much uncertainty when the event has already started for portions of our viewing area, but this could mean everything when it comes to snowfall totals. If this holds like the graph model thinks it will, then we may only see very limited snowfall totals from basically the bay side of the south side and south. That's about it. That snow shield may only hold for the south side, moving further south through the northeastern North Carolina area and then tapering out to sea throughout the morning tomorrow. That is a solution that the graph model has. The American model shows this, a much further north snow shield, or widespread snow lingering through the night and into early tomorrow morning, bringing the snow to Hampton Roads, the south side at least, by 3 p.m. So timeline's a little bit more slow. And then we get into about 5 p.m. and it starts to move further north with the eastern shore and the middle peninsula. And even further north of Richmond potentially, again, snowfall accumulation will be dwindling the further north you go. As Hunter just showed, it's a very dry atmosphere. So anything that falls will most likely evaporate until the air gets saturated enough to let all those flurries make it to the ground. So if this is the solution, we'll have higher snowfall totals around the south side and northeastern North Carolina. If the graph model is the solution that plays out, then we're talking lower snowfall totals. And then by, of course, tomorrow morning, we see the snow tapering off. Again, here's a look at the projections, and they're all over the place. Hunter and I were just looking at the NAM, and the NAM had 3 to 6 inches on the south side, and now with its new run, back down to 1 inch to maybe 3 inches at most. It doesn't know what's going to happen. And typically, the North American model, the NAM, doesn't do well with snowfall. So that's something to keep in mind. The GFS and the European models have been holding very steady. 1 to 3 inches for the south side from the American model, that's the GFS, or 3 to 6 inches for the south side from the European model. They've been holding consistent all morning. I will say that from someone who has been here since 4 a.m. This has been consistent. The European model, GFS model, consistent. The NAM and the HER, not so much, especially because the HER this morning looked even worse, honestly, than the NAM model and had 1/10 of an inch of snow for Norfolk through this whole event. And now it's up to 1 to 3 inches for the south side. So these models have no idea how this dry air is going to infiltrate. And so again, we put the caveat that we should see possibly 2 to 4 inches of snow on the south side. That's mainly for most areas. Some areas may get more than 4 inches. But in the area that has this yellow dotted oblong oval, like a bean shape, in this area from Richmond down through the peninsulas and over into the northern south side, dry air could really limit snowfall totals later on today. This is all a waiting game for us, and we're going to see how the radar starts to fill in. As Hunter said, we have seen some pockets of dry slots. That was expected. But we were anticipating, and are anticipating, that the low pressure system at the surface and the low pressure system above the surface in the upper levels of the atmosphere, they're pumping up in enough moisture to overcome the dry slot, even if some of the snow does evaporate first, eventually makes it to the ground later on this afternoon. What we do know is that northeastern North Carolina, your totals will hold mainly steady, 6 to 10 inches possible, and maybe some isolated spots higher than that. But again, this is where we're very uncertain in this area. What we're not uncertain about is the fact that it's going to be a very windy and cold weekend. So let's walk through the winds that we're going to see across the area. And Hunter, I see that you have the actual warnings up first. So I'll go to you first and we'll come back to me for the forecast.
Yeah, we do have we do have winter storm warnings out, but we also have high wind warnings up for the areas in pink closer to the coast. This goes into effect this evening into Sunday morning and into the afternoon as well. So the eastern shore, high wind warnings down into areas around the peninsulas, down around Virginia Beach, Norfolk, into far eastern North Carolina through the Outer Banks. All of these high wind warnings, 50 to even close to 60 mile per hour gusts. I think those 60 mile per hour gusts would be closer to areas around the Outer Banks, 50, around Virginia Beach, Norfolk into the eastern shore. Inland areas here have wind advisories. So this includes, right around Franklin or just to the east of Franklin, Elizabeth City, Edenton, all under wind advisories. That includes Suffolk and Chesapeake as well. Surrey included in that same, up into Gloucester and parts of the northern neck. So as we head into this evening and especially overnight, that's when we're going to see those winds picking up. Some areas could see, some blizzard conditions as well, Taylor, but it's just going to be a bit of a snowy, windy evening for us, at least for some of us here in Hampton Roads.
It will be, and as you mentioned, sorry, I turned my mic off.
It happens.
Sorry, I turned my mic off when I went back behind into the weather center. But yes, especially for places around the coast, like you mentioned, around the Outer Banks, that's when we're going to see some of those gustier winds. So let's go ahead and talk about the futurecast wind gusts that we'll see around here through the day today. Right now, not as windy as it will be later on tonight. Wind gusts at the moment could be as high as about 20 to 25 miles per hour. That only picks up as we head throughout the day today. Later on this evening, right around 7 p.m., wind gusts start to build in. As Hunter says, it's not as windy inland as it will be around the coast. That's because around the coast, you're closer to that center of low pressure, and that's going to kick up those winds. So by 7 p.m., we're talking wind gusts around the Outer Banks, 30 to 40 miles per hour. Around the south side, 25 to 35. Around the peninsulas, 20 to 25. We get into tonight, early tomorrow morning, very windy conditions, and that will not help. And I'll scroll back just a moment, right about here. That will not help when it comes to the cold air tomorrow, which I'll show you in the next graphic. You tack on the fact it's already cold. You tack on the fact that we have wind gusts up to 45 miles per hour in the morning on the south side, up to 50 to 55 miles per hour in northeastern North Carolina. That gives you brutally cold wind chills, enough to have hypothermia or frostbite set in less than 30 minutes, some cases even 15. This is around 5:30 again tomorrow morning. Wind gusts around the peninsulas up to 40 miles per hour, around the south side up to 45, and then for northeastern North Carolina up to 55. Throughout the day on Sunday, wind gusts will still be strong, but taper off slowly through the afternoon, where wind gusts could be as high as about 25 to 35, maybe even 40 around the eastern shore. We get into the rest of peninsulas, 20 to 30 miles per hour for wind gusts. South side, 25 to 35, and then in northeastern North Carolina, 25 to 35 as well. But again, this is going to make it feel so chilly tomorrow. Here's a look at your Saturday morning. The wind chills this morning were in the teens. It was cold, and Hunter and I joked. He said it was really cold outside. It was colder to me last Saturday morning. My eyes were just watering when I was outside. We get into this afternoon and evening, and I'll even scroll back maybe even just a little bit right about here, 4 p.m. And you can see that wind chills are fairly the same since this morning, feeling more like the single digits in the teens throughout your Saturday. That's why even though some places may not see as much snow because that dry air may infiltrate the system and limit snowfall totals, it's probably best you stay inside because it's freezing cold outside. And I don't say that as a hyperbole. It's literally freezing cold outside. So you want to stay inside. We get into early tomorrow morning. This is right around 7 to 8 a.m. Feels like temperatures 0 and below. Feeling more like 1 degree below 0 in Norfolk, Chesapeake, and Elizabeth City. 4 below in Suffolk, Williamsburg. 3 below in Gloucester and Franklin. 5 below in Accomack up on the eastern shore. These are not temperatures that you want to be outside in. This is also your reminder about the 4 Ps. We have people, pets, plants, and pipes. For people, make sure that you are checking in on your vulnerable people, whether that's the houseless population, whether that's your elderly neighbors who live next door, or maybe just vulnerable neighbors who, may not have the resources. If they don't have heat, try to find them some way to get heat, or send them to some resources with warming centers. 2, your pets. While pets can be outdoor lovers, they are going to notice that it is brutally cold tonight into tomorrow morning if you do not bring them inside. So make sure that you are cuddled up with them inside, that you have a place for them to stay warm, because just as much as humans need warmth, so do pets. 3, any potted plants that are kind of fragile when it comes to cold temperatures, just bring them inside for the night so they can stay a little bit warmer. And 4, if you have any old pipes, you need to make sure that those are properly taken care of, maybe even leaving a small little drip overnight tonight, but temperatures will be brutally cold, Hunter. And that's one thing that I feel like sometimes gets lost with this forecast is, yes, we're talking about the tides. Yes, we're talking about the high winds. Of course, we're talking about the snow. But cold air, dangerously cold air, can lead to inconveniences to life or even cold weather-related illnesses.
Yeah, it certainly can. And I mean, the wind just makes such a big difference when it comes to cold temperatures. You could walk outside when it's 20 degrees, and if there's no wind, it's manageable.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, this is fine. But when the winds are gusting to 20, 30, 40 miles an hour, that's when it feels brutally cold. And that's why we have the wind chill factor, Taylor. I mean, some people do just want to see what the actual air temperature is, but you really do have to factor in the wind chill, because if you didn't experiment and you went outside when it's 25 degrees, it was very light winds, compared to if you went outside and it was 25 degrees and it was gusting to 20 to 30 miles an hour, you would feel a big, big difference. Even I feel it myself, because sometimes I walk outside and it's 25, 30 degrees, especially in the middle of winter when you get acclimated to the cooler weather. I'm like, okay, it's not too bad outside. But when it's very windy, I'm like, all right, it's absolutely freezing, even if it's the same air temperature. So that's why we factor in the wind chill. It just pushes off that warm layer off your skin and cools you down significantly. And even if you're stepping out the door this morning, it's 11:41, we're seeing those gusts already close to 30 miles an hour. 28 in Virginia Beach, 29 in Elizabeth City, 21 in Edenton, gusting up to 25 in Hampton, 28 in Manteo. And like Taylor was saying, those are going to continue to go up as we head into this evening and early tomorrow morning. Here's a look at the feels like temperatures. Single digits for some of us. 5 in Wallops Island, 8 in Norfolk. It feels like 10 in Chesapeake, 8 in Franklin, 9 in Ahoskie. The warmest spots, 21 in Gloucester, 19 in Manteo. Tappahannock feels like 8, and it feels like 4 degrees up in Richmond. Over into Virginia Beach, feels like 23 degrees there. 11 in Moyock, 9 in Portsmouth. Matthews, you guys are feeling like 4 degrees this morning. 11 in Gatesville and Elizabeth City, 9 in Suffolk. Petersburg, you guys are feeling like 6 degrees, but it's going to continue to get colder and colder. We do have an extreme cold warning in effect tonight into tomorrow morning. Taylor was showing you that tomorrow morning at 7, 8, 9 o'clock, we are going to have below zero wind chills across the board. That's why this extends through the entire Hampton Roads area. This doesn't include the northern neck, but this does have the eastern shore, the middle peninsula, parts of the south side, and even into eastern North Carolina, down through the Outer Banks, because wind chills at most for a lot of us are going to be 0. And then the rest of us will be below 0. Now, maybe you'll have to get outside tomorrow morning. You have to go to work. You have to do a little bit of some shoveling or even some sweeping. I do have to say, if it's the light, fluffy snow that you have out there on your sidewalks or your driveway and you don't have a shovel, but you have a broom, I do have to say, it's very easy to broom light, fluffy snow. You don't need, one of those hefty shovels when it's that thick, wet snow. But you can easily broom it away, which is a good thing to be seeing some of that light snow as we head into the next couple of hours. But we also have coastal flood warnings in effect for Norfolk, into Virginia Beach, and down into the Outer Banks as well, in southern areas of the eastern shore. This is for Sunday morning. We could see moderate to major tidal flooding for some of us. And then we have coastal flood advisories in effect for northern areas of the eastern shore, down around the southern peninsula and into areas of northern Suffolk and Surrey as well. But as we take a look again at the expected impacts as we head into this upcoming weekend, Taylor, the good thing is mainly a snow event. That's great. We don't have to worry about ice.
Right.
We don't have to worry about sleet like last week. But we do have to worry about the gusty winds.
Right.
50-mile-per-hour gusts possible. Some tidal flooding, certainly a possibility for a lot of us along the coast. Moderate to major tidal flooding. But I do have to say, Taylor, when we're in the winter months and we get these gustier winds, could we see a few isolated power outages? Certainly. But if you're seeing, 50-mile-per-hour winds in the summer, you're seeing those branches and trees having a tougher time staying up because of the leaves, right? But in winter, the trees are bare. So the winds can easily kind of whip around the bare trees. So sometimes you'll see less branches falling down onto power lines. So you see less power outages. Now, I'm not saying that's, not going to happen. We could see a few isolated, but if there were leaves on the trees, it would be easier for some of those branches to be falling down on some of those power lines.
I think that's a really good point, especially when we don't have ice in the factor, right? If this is an icy situation, that will hold down all the power lines. As you mentioned, this is an all snow event for us. Now, as we wrap up this stream, I want to give you just a few key points to leave with here on 13 News Now Plus. Here's a look at our weather impact alert, and it starts in the next 15 minutes. So from this afternoon through the day on Sunday, we have this winter storm threat. And again, watching for snow, winds, high tides throughout the area. Again, gusty winds, as Hunter said, just up to 50 miles per hour. There could be an isolated 60-mile-per-hour gust. High tides early Sunday morning, and snow building in throughout the day today. Again, watching to see how that dry slot impacts our snowfall totals. If you can limit your travel today from those three things, plus the very cold temperatures, brutally cold temperatures tonight into tomorrow, it's best that you just stay home and maybe step outside once or twice just to get some snow pictures and head back indoors. I do want to give you one last look at our satellite and radar for the moment. And this will show you kind of what the setup is at this moment in terms of the snow that's falling here in Hampton Roads in northeastern North Carolina. And the snow is starting to, again, continue to come down, maybe a little bit of a mix over near Nags Head, but I think that that's a little bit of a blip there on the radar. We'll see. But again, seeing snowfall throughout the area, this should be a mainly snow event. I think that's just a little bit of a radar defect right there because it doesn't even match up with the snow that we're seeing. So snowfall for most of northeastern North Carolina. You head down into Emporia and Roanoke Rapids, and we're seeing some heavier bands there as well. South side right now, only place I'm seeing in a few isolated flurries near Back Bay in Virginia Beach, and maybe closer just south of the 264 corridor in Virginia Beach, and an isolated flurry up there around the northern neck. Otherwise, that's about it for snowfall at the moment, but it will start to build in. Your 5 to 7 day forecast shows that any snow that we get in this type of winter storm will stick to the ground. We are going to be below freezing for actual air temperatures from now through the night, through all day tomorrow, through the night on Sunday, and not until we get to Monday afternoon will we finally break free of sub-freezing temperatures, and that's barely. Temperatures on Monday in the upper 30s. We will rise back to the mid-40s. We haven't seen the 40s in quite some time, but still upper 30s to mid-40s, still well cooler than average. Our average high temperature for this time of year is around 51 degrees. And so we'll have very cool temperatures to start off the first week of February with our next chance for maybe some winter weather on Thursday. Hunter, anything else to add before we round out this forecast?
No, Just that we'll be here all day to keep you updated. I know you're about to leave soon because you've been here all morning doing a great job. But I'll be here through the afternoon. We're having Tim Pandages coming in as well. Evan Stewart will be here. So we'll be streaming as we get into the afternoon to keep you updated. And of course, we hope you stay with us, right, Taylor?
Yeah, and I am Team Snow. So hopefully this dry slot gets overpowered by all the moisture. I want to see the snow, but of course, stay tuned for updates. But thank you so much for joining me. Shout out to reporter Layla Cox for braving the elements to be with us. Hunter, it was a pleasure joining you on this stream today.
You as well.
And Hunter will be back here at 1 p.m. with our next live stream, showing you the current conditions and what to expect for the rest of the weekend. For now, though, from 13 News Now Plus, we'll see you in just about an hour and a half.